I'd like to call the Finance Administration and Economic Development Committee meeting to order. Today is Monday, March 18th. If everyone could rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public notification of this meeting has been published, posted, and distributed in compliance with the South Carolina Freedom of Information Act. If I can ask someone for the approval of our agenda today.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Brown, beat Mr. Dawson. All right. And then is there any further discussion? This will be approved without objection. Is there any objection? Seeing no objection, we have approved today's agenda. And I'd like to now open it up for our citizens' comment period. Is there anyone in person or anyone that has contacted you, Sarah, that would like to speak today for our citizens' comment?
No, sir.
And seeing no one in the room, let's move on then to our agenda items. We do have a lengthy agenda today, so I appreciate everyone's patience as we go through. And again, yes?
Before you do that, I must apologize. I didn't see it here unless there's a new agenda. Is there a new agenda?
What's that?
The Beaufort Jasper Comprehensive Health is here to make a budget presentation as well. It's not on the agenda.
She emailed that a couple dropped off and one more added on.
Right.
Yeah, they were gonna wait till Beaufort.
So they're here?
Memorial
Okay.
did theirs at the same
Yeah,
time.
here.
They're supposed to get notice about that.
Are they here?
What's the story? Because I called this morning and then I was told that they were going to
They're
be added.
replacing the sheriff's department does not make the presentation, and Beaufort Jasper Comprehensive Health is doing their spot.
So there you go. So Sheriff is not going to make their presentation, and the Beaufort Jasper Comprehensive Health is going to take their spot.
That's
Looking at
right.
my final list here that I've got.
I thought they were gonna do it in conjunction.
I look at the one here as soon as, yeah, it's not on here, but yeah.
It's on this one here.
Oh, okay.
See the one that has yellow? She added it in.
Got you.
See it on the bottom?
As long as they're gonna present today, because they're here, that's all. Thank
Yes,
you,
yep,
Mr.
they're here.
Chairman. Go ahead.
We got it. All right, good.
Okay.
Let's move on to our agenda items. Number 6 on the agenda. recommend
Mr.
approval-
Chairman?
Yes.
Excuse me. I'm looking at the agenda as published, and I don't see Beaufort Jasper on it, and I see the sheriff on it. If y'all are gonna substitute them, I think you need to go back and
And amended,
amend the agenda and approve the amended agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make that motion that we amend the agenda to substitute the sheriff office with Beaufort Jasper Water.
I'll second it if I have a comment.
We also have to remove Public Defender's Office from presentation.
Yes, you said.
So make your motion again, Mr.
To
Glover.
include both of those,
Take the sheriff and the public defender out.
okay,
And
and
put-
insert Beaufort Jasper Hampton Comprehensive Health.
Yes.
That's
There
my
you go.
motion, and I think Ms. Howard seconded it.
But I did wanna make a
Okay,
comment.
that's the second. So is there any discussion? Go ahead.
Yes, sir, and I certainly, if they would like to present today too, but my understanding, I'm liaison to the hospital. They had also, they delayed their presentation thinking that y'all might want to present at the same time, but you're here. But I think Russell Baxley was gonna call you, Dr. Dorr, but you haven't heard from him. Okay. Oh, I got you. Dr. Polkey. Okay, thank you, Dr. Polk. All right, no
Question.
problem.
So what is the new?
Yes, Mr. Dawson, go ahead.
You know, why are we moving the public defender?
They cannot be here today,
They're not- Okay,
and they will be rescheduled as well.
all right, thank you.
All right, any other comments or discussions? Again, this list, even since last week, has been a moving target to get everyone here. And again, we appreciate everyone's patience and being able to work with us with our schedule. And again, being here, because again, this is going to be fairly lengthy if we give everyone the 10 minutes time that we're planning on doing. So let's move on then to our first agenda item, number 6.
Sir, could you take a vote?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm gonna slow down. We're gonna get in a hurry here. All right, so we have a motion to amend the agenda, and it has been seconded. Is there any more discussion? Seeing no discussion, it will be passed without objection. Is there any objection? And we do need a majority vote to do that, to amend the agenda, and I see everyone has agreed. There's no objection, so the agenda has been amended. That then allows us now to go on to our,
No, now we have to pass a
Oh,
motion for the amended, the agenda as amended.
so, can I have a
will make
motion?
that motion.
Thank you, Mr.
We
Passman.
approve
Is there a
the
second?
agenda as
I'll
amended.
second it.
Ms. Tabernick, thank you for for seconding the agenda as amended. Is there any discussion regarding that? Seeing no discussion, it will pass without objection. And so now we've got all the house cleaning items up. We can now move on to our first agenda item. Do I see any objections in the room? I do not. So let's move on to our first agenda item. Recommend approval of a resolution authorizing the county administrator enter into an intergovernmental agreement with Beaufort Jasper Water Sewer Authority for the construction installation of the Levico Morgan Road Water Line Project.
Hello?
Mr. Hank, yes, sir.
Hey, how are y'all doing? Good evening or afternoon. What time is it again? I'm
You're
Hank
like me, it's just
Amundsen.
kinda-
This is one of our originally discussed ARPA projects. I've got Paul Vincent, who's engineer with Beaufort Jasper Water Sewer Authority, with me here. We've been working with them for a long time. I think the discussion started way back in 2019. And now we're at a position to undertake the running of a water line from the main road on 21 down Morgan Road to connect back up to Keene's Neck. And what that does is gives access to clean water to a bunch of residents, which Paul can fill all the information. It also provides water looping on the line that runs down Keene's Neck. And I will leave any other details. The overall project estimate is $3,668,800. And this is allowable use as one of our original water sewer infrastructure ARPA projects. Anything you want to add, Paul?
No, you did a great job. The one thing I might add is that it's going to provide some fire protection throughout that area where now there is essentially no real fire protection. So I think that'll be a real benefit for those that live in that area.
And is there any downside to us approving? I don't,
No.
No.
loaded question, yeah.
Quick question. Will this also run down near the old industrial site?
So if you look at your map on the, above my head here,
It's behind it.
you see John Meeks comes down the middle. To the right of that is the old chemical plant. That you see these settling ponds about halfway down to the blue line.
Okay.
That currently, everybody to the south and east of that are on wells, and this will now get clean water. So if there was to be any sort of project one day on that road, one side or the other, it could come now from either side and have the required pressure. That's what I meant by, it really means fire protection, but what I meant by water looping for redundancy and pressure.
Thank you.
Yeah, the Morgan Road divides the Levico site from the community. So the community is on one side, the road's in the middle, and the old chemical site is on the other side. Yeah.
Thanks.
So it's a much needed project for the community to have clean drinking water.
What would be the timeline to do this? Because I know it's going to blow my mind when you say it. 2 years?
Yeah, that's probably close to what we're talking about. You know, we've seen a real demand for infrastructure projects here over the last couple of years, and cost of goods and services has gone up, but you're also very aware that the state's had a lot of SCIP projects. So I anticipate all these SCIP projects coming to bid here over the next 12 months or so, and contractor capacity just being very, very thin across the board for infrastructure. It's not yet designed, so it'll take us a period of time to get an engineer on board and then the design process and the permitting taken care of. That in and of itself should be just over a year. Once we get to the construction piece of it, it should go relatively quickly. But again, that's with all those constraints that I just described, we're probably 2 years from this point to being complete.
I just wanted the residents there to understand it won't happen tomorrow.
It's gonna be close.
And so that's why we had to get it before you now, so that they can begin that process, because the funds have to be expended by December 31st of 2026. Which is
Thank you.
a little bit more than 2.5 years.
And Paul, what's your last name? I'm sorry, I didn't catch it.
Yeah, I'm Paul Vincent. I'm Chief of
Okay.
Engineering at Beaufort Jasper Water Sewer Authority.
Mr. Vincent, thank you for being here. All right, so we have, is there a motion then to move this forward? This would go to, county council, as a resolution, so for
I'll
one
second.
reading. All right.
He moved it.
Move it forward, seconded, so, all right, any discussion on this matter? Seeing no discussion, we will pass this without objection. Is there any objection? Seeing no objection, this has been passed. Thank you, Mr. Benson, thank you for coming.
Thank you. He's very good to work with. I like the whole Beaufort Jasper team.
Good.
That's what we want to hear. So, and Hank, I think you're
Larry
staying.
has a question, but we can hardly hear him.
Oh, sorry, Larry.
Well, is it possible to have the camera operator create an image of the person who's speaking to you so that the people who are online can see that person? Am I getting enough volume there to you delivered?
Yes.
You are now, yes, you weren't before, but you are now.
Yeah, nothing, it's, the camera stays on you, it doesn't move. And I'm trying to ask if the camera operator can get the image of the person who's speaking so we can follow that, in addition to hearing them, seeing them as well.
Well, Larry, I am the best looking guy in the room, so I can see why the camera.
That's probably exactly why they're not moving the camera.
All right, we will try to work on that, but let's go ahead and keep moving forward then. So we have it's been accepted without objection, and that will go to a resolution with the next county council meeting. All right, so let's move on then to number 7, our second agenda item, and that is recommend approval of a resolution to accept grant funds in support of a project award. Mr. Munson, you're going to talk about that again?
Yeah, come on up, Kelly. I want to introduce you. I'm not sure if you guys have met yet.
Yes.
Right? So this is John's new engine. He used to give Charlie credit for everything. Now she's going to do everything.
Yes.
You can tell John that too.
Yes. My name is Kelly Brunson. I'm with the Economic Development Corporation.
And so this is an exciting project that they secured a grant for I can say the names, right?
Yes.
It's for the Gay Fish Company out on St. Helena to receive $500,000 to help support the reconstruction and expansion of their dock and processing facilities. The county, while there's no fiscal impact, there is some monitoring and work involved. And so John and Kelly are going to help with making sure that we comply, get the proper reports in. No monies are expended until it's a reimbursement situation, so there's no fronting of cash. And then long-term, we have to make sure that they performed what they said they were going to do.
Okay.
All right, are there any questions for Ms. Brunson? Yep, go ahead, Ms. Brown.
What's the name of the company, or can you not tell?
Yeah, it's called Gay
JC.
Fish.
Oh, okay, all
Company.
right. English, all right.
But you went out there.
Right. Huh? I haven't got out there yet.
Okay.
One of these days. Yeah,
All right, any
it's a great thing.
any other questions?
Mr. Chairman,
It's in here.
Yeah, go ahead.
I
Mr.
just
Gold.
want to put a motion on the floor to move this forward.
We have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Oh, okay.
All right, and is there any more discussion? Seeing no discussion, is there any objection? Seeing no objection, this will be approved and moved forward to county council.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brunson. Thank you, Hank. All right, let's move on then to number 8. Recommend approval of a resolution authorizing the interim county administrator to approve an affordable housing fee subsidy in the amount of $11,765 requested by the Low Country Habitat for Humanity for the construction of 3 affordable housing residential units.
Good afternoon. I'm here for Chuck, who is off at a conference in Myrtle Beach, and he's asked me to pinch hit this for you. Under our impact fee ordinance, the county is authorized to reimburse or subsidize impact fees for affordable housing. We've done it several times in the past, and that's what this is here. So these houses, based on the information that Chuck's provided, these houses are all for folks whose household incomes are at or below 60% of AMI. And so under our ordinance, they qualify for 100% reimbursement or payment.
All right, and again, that is actually by ordinance. If a house qualifies, they come to us and request the funds.
If the tenants or the homeowners qualify.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
And
move,
so-
Mr. Chairman.
I'll second, Mr.
All right,
Chairman.
we have a motion on the floor, and then it's been seconded. Is there any additional discussion or questions?
Will this
have a
go to
question.
full council, or does it?
Yes, it'll have to go to full
I thought
council.
so. Okay.
Tom,
Want me to ask him?
Go ahead.
do you, and you may not know, are these 3 homes all in the same local area?
Well, it looks to me, based on the material that's in the backup, it looks like two of them may be right next to each other. Their parcel numbers are one digit off.
That's what I was looking at.
I assume they're next to each other. I don't know about the third.
Walnut Street, there are two previously built, that's in my district, that's why I'm familiar with them. This is the third home on Walnut Street. So, the other two are already occupied and built.
Okay.
And the reason we have to handle it this way is because impact fees can't be waived. Somebody has to pay them. And so what county council has decided years ago is that it would pay these impact fees in order to foster, promote affordable housing. This is one of the things council did before it started putting money aside, like you've started doing.
Yeah, I mean, this is actually, we set aside, if I'm not mistaken, $100,000 toward this year.
Some time ago.
Yeah, in our annual budget for just this purpose, so.
I understand it, thank you.
You're welcome.
That was my question, why don't we waive the fee instead of subsidizing?
We don't get to.
I get it,
Someone has to pay it.
Somebody's got to pay it.
yeah.
All right, seeing no more discussion, we'll approve this without objection as well. Is there any objection? And this will move on to council for a one vote of a resolution.
It's a resolution, yeah. And you got to vote in a second. I'm sorry, I
Yes,
lost track.
we do.
Perfect,
Yep,
thank you.
Yep, we're good. It has been approved, thank you. All right, that is the business before this committee. However, we do have some of our fiscal year 2025 budget presentations from outside agencies. And first up on our list is our treasurer, Ms. Maria Walsh. Ms. Maria, thank you for coming today. The floor is yours.
Of course. Okay, I'm waiting to see, are you putting that upstairs? Or, I will wait. And Councilman McKellen, did your camera issue get rectified? Because I can't tell.
No, there's nothing there except the smiling Mark Lawson. And we have nothing, we have no data, and we have nothing with the other speaker. It just doesn't move at all. It's locked in on him. So
Okay.
we'll just suffer through it. Thanks.
Were you seeing the screen just now, Larry?
No,
You don't see the PowerPoint?
I see the PowerPoint now, yes.
Okay.
Okay. All right, then when you see Councilman Lawson, I hope he smiles the entire time. All right, I am just gonna make sure. So Sarah, it looks like because it's it's okay, that's fine. Oh, yes, okay. All right. Thank you for the time to present to you today our fiscal year 2025 budget. And I have a few brief slides and then really want to spend the 10 minutes allowing you to ask the questions that you may have. But before I get started, attached to today's agenda packet, there was not a copy of the letter I sent to council or any budget tentative details I'd provided. So for any of our taxpayers watching, you can visit BeaufortCountyTreasurer.com, click on our news section, and it's all right there for you to download at your leisure. So first and foremost, I did want to remind everyone of our vision, mission, and values. When we evaluate successes and where we miss the mark in the treasurer's office, it is in alignment or the fulfillment of these vision, mission, and core values. So they govern everything we do and how we conduct the services that we offer, not just local governments, but Beaufort County's taxpayers. So some statistics on how this fiscal year has been going. We have surpassed, once again, $1.1 billion in cash management at any given time. Our annual average is at approximately $900 million. We are projected to have earned in total $18.5 million for this fiscal year. We billed $624 million across over 400,000 accounts. So this is a sizable increase. It is a $73 million increase in bill volume. Our collection rate for this recently concluded fiscal year is 98.8%. So that's a 12-month collection period and the highest, one of the highest we've ever had in the 14 years I've been in the treasurer's office. Over the course of the past 12 months, we have had 44,000 initial customer interactions. And what I mean by that is if Councilwoman Tabernet contacted our office, the first time is counted. Any follow-up or back and forth we go through to serve her is not in that number. So 44,000 initial customer interactions across 12 months. Because of our outstanding customer service platform, our customers can rate our services. And I am very pleased that 97.5% have rated us satisfactory and doing an outstanding job for our constituents. Some of you may be aware that I do a tax game at our local schools throughout the year. I've been doing that for years. This past year, we were able to engage with 295 students, which is super fun. We give them candy and then we have their friends tax it and take it back. It's very hysterical. And then last but certainly not least, and probably one of the things I'm most proud of because it does not trend with typical government operations, is we successfully implemented 360-degree performance evaluations. We have 3 under our belt and we'll be approaching our 4th in a couple months. So next is our cash balances. I like to show you where these are total dollars, not necessarily just Beaufort County dollars, that the treasurer's office is managing throughout the year. The red you will see is our brokerage account. And that's not tying in now, is it? The red is actually Wells Fargo, so please excuse that discrepancy. The yellow is UBS and the green is the local government investment pool. We are managing the liquidity and the cash flows coming in and out of the treasurer's office every single day, then weekly, then monthly, and then we do certain quarterly reports. We have earned an outstanding amount of money. Our current holdings will yield over $32 million by the time they mature, and that's not what we will continue to be investing for the remainder of the year. So as my letter to you last week detailed, our general fund budget request is $2,522,563. I've listed the execution fund to make sure that particularly our new council members were aware that there are 2 funds that fund the operations of the treasurer's office because we are the delinquent tax collector as well as the treasurer's office. The execution fund is funded outside of ad valorem taxes, but I did want to also provide that number as well for the benefit of our constituents viewing today. So general fund request just over $2.5 million. We are very excited for 2025. And I request, obviously, that council approve this budget so that we can continue operating in the treasurer's office. So, questions?
Let's open the floor up for any questions from committee. Ms. Stavrik, go ahead.
So, Ms. Walls.
Yes.
I had a constituent ask,
Mm-hmm.
first of all, what's the date of delinquency? March 14th, March something?
It's going to be statutorily as March 18th.
March 18th.
There is a provision in South Carolina state law that if the last day to pay, any last day to pay, it could be a vehicle, anything else, falls on the weekend or a holiday, it gets pushed to the next business day.
Okay, so that's there.
Yes.
So,
And may I add something?
Yeah, sure.
Most of our customers, so if you're asking me when is the statutory delinquency date, it's in March. But most customers associate being penalized as being delinquent. And as we all know, you're penalized 3 times before you are actually labeled delinquent according to South Carolina state
That
law.
might be a good thing to explain to any public that watches that. So they're due January 15th and then explain from there.
Yes, ma'am. So there are 3 penalty dates between the due date on January 15th, 16th, depending on when it falls, until March, that final date. The best place for a customer to look is going to be at the bottom left-hand corner of their annual tax bill, because of course vehicles and watercraft are handled differently. The bottom left-hand corner of their tax bill on the coupon, it lists each important date, the penalty that will be assigned if not paid by that date. And again, South Carolina law is a little bit backwards, that you are penalized, you are charged a financial penalty for being late, but you are not technically considered delinquent and therefore subject to the delinquency process until after that March 18th date.
And as I've talked to you about, that's where people get wrapped up. They don't understand, if I'm not delinquent till March, why do I have to pay a penalty? And it goes, you know, so they don't understand that, so it was a good explanation.
Thank you.
The question is, what is the collection rate prior to the date of delinquency? So prior to, today, what's our collection rate?
So we are, grab that number for you. We are at 94.9% as of last week for the bills that we just mailed in November of 2023. So the majority, well over 75% in any given year of our customers that receive a bill in November are paying before that January first deadline in January. And I'm gonna say that a part of that reason is the majority of properties in Beaufort County are mortgaged. So we could receive, what, $180 million check in one fell swoop at the end of December. So the majority of our customers are paying timely, and then between that January and April 1st date, when we send out the delinquent bills, it'll uptick a little bit more, but we really don't see that completion until after the tax sale in October.
So that brings up another point that I found out. If you don't pay your taxes on time, let's say you go all the way to the delinquency date and you have a mortgage, now your mortgage company is going to increase your escrow if you're doing it that way because you're delinquent and the tax went up.
If your mortgage company pays anything other than what they expected to when they calculated their mortgage, because it's actually more common for them to recalculate your escrow due to a 4% being missing, or there, whichever the scenario is. If they pay anything more than what they thought they would for you, you are absolutely right. They are gonna get that money back from you in one way or another. Yes.
And that's where people get caught up in the mix.
Yes, yes.
And there is an appeal process for people listening. They may appeal if their tax rates they think is incorrect.
To the Beaufort County Assessor's Office.
Correct.
We get a lot of those inquiries, but any change to your title, for real property, you want to make sure that you're reapplying for any exemptions you have. But I don't know how much longer I have, but are there any budget questions?
I do have one, actually.
Yes.
I see in here between the execution fund and the general fund for advertising, the general fund says 15,000 and the execution fund says 110,000.
Correct.
I think I know the answer to it, but can you explain
Sure.
the discrepancies there?
So there's a very large difference because the advertising line item in the general ledger is going to include things like notices in the newspaper in the installment program, but it also includes the advertisement of the delinquent tax sale, where we're required to advertise. That's why the execution is so much higher. We have to advertise in the paper of the most widely circulation in the county every parcel that we are going to auction at the tax sale, and we need to do it for 3 consecutive weeks. So typically, for anyone watching, that's going to be on Sunday of each week leading up to the tax sale. And as you can imagine, buying full pages in the newspaper multiple weeks in a row is quite costly.
I thought that's what it was. I just wanted to understand that.
Yes,
Thanks.
sir, of course.
I got one question for you, and again, this is not, I got you a question because I'm gonna ask every other person that comes up after you.
Yeah,
Please
go
get
for
a chance
it.
to prepare for it, but obviously between your budget from last year, the 23-24, and then your upcoming one, do you have any monies that are still in reserve or that are surplus or that are carryover from last year's budget?
No, any surplus for the treasurer's office gets rolled into the general fund and is no longer a part of the treasurer. I mean, if we save money from the prior year, it's not saved somewhere for us to use in a future year. Our funding request is based on the operations that we would desire to have. The 2 variables in well, 3 really, but the 2 variables in our budget is first going to be credit card fees. I would love every customer listening to sign up for My Beaufort County and get an e-bill and pay online. Well, the more that occurs, the downside of that is the more costly that line item gets. But we are saving far more dollars by that occurring in postage and printing. So it's offset elsewhere, but I'm just saying that that's a variable in our budget that we're not actively spending those funds. It's based on the behavior and decisions of our constituents, and we want them to have that choice to choose how they're most comfortable paying.
Very good. Yeah, Mr. Passman.
Maria, You showed a slide there where you said the amount of taxes that were billed was $624 million.
Yes, sir.
Can you give us some idea what makes up that number? It's not all property taxes.
Oh, no, of course not. So first of all, we're the Beaufort County Treasurer's Office, not Beaufort County Government Treasurer's Office. So that's going to be every dollar we bill, because I'm here with you about our budget, but we handle everybody's revenue, just for anyone watching, wanted a clarification. So that is across all property types. It shouldn't be surprising to learn that real property is the big chunk of that dollar amount, and that is about $528 million. So it's a significant portion of our revenues. Now, what's interesting is we've had some increased charges we've seen increases in manufacture, we've seen increases in vehicles. We know people means cars. The more people that are moving here, the more cars we see. Another factor is the legal residence exemption. This is a billed amount as a snapshot in time. The more that there are appeals that may be processed or exemption applications that are processed, we typically see that decline, because on any given year, about 9%, there's about a 9% increase in the quantity of legal residence accounts in the system between the billing date and October of the following year. So within 12 months, you'll see about a 9% increase based on the past 2-year average. And that will certainly lower the billed dollars. But the majority of that amount is going to be real property, which shouldn't be surprising.
Gotcha.
Mr. Chairman, may I have the floor?
McKellar,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Maria, I have 2 questions. If they're not appropriate for you, but rather should go to the assessor, you don't have to answer them, just refer me to that. I've been trying to solve 2 problems here.
Okay.
Some people have a 4% tax rate, and then they're notified they have a 6% tax rate with an increase in the amount of tax that's due. Confusion ensues, and they decide they're going to appeal it, and they're not going to pay the amount, and then they go into a period of time where they've missed the payment entirely. But after that, their appeal has been approved, and their tax rate would drop from the 6% rate of $15,000 back to the 4% rate of $5,000.
Okay.
So they get the money back if they've paid it. If they haven't paid it, then they're treated in a different manner, and there are penalties imposed upon them for failure to pay the incorrect tax amount, or the 6% tax amount, which was deemed to be incorrect. Is there a way for those fines, if the property owner eventually is granted the 4%, can those fines be eliminated? You don't have to answer that yet. The second question is, if someone changes their ownership and they're 4% owners, and they put the home into a revocable living trust, do they change from 4% to 6% there as well, and do they have to start the whole process over?
So my disclaimer is that the Beaufort County Assessor's Office handles 4% exemptions and applications. But I'm standing here and I'm going to answer your question based on my opinion on what I know to be true. And you can do with it what you would like. For the past with the exception of this year, for the past 2 years, Beaufort County, and I say Beaufort County as in myself and the assessor, the auditor, our previous auditor did not actively participate in the process. But the assessor and myself voted en masse to waive the penalties for all outstanding 4% applications. Earlier last year, I confirmed the current auditor's agreement with that continued practice and the inserts that maybe you noticed in the tax bills that were sent to our customers. Subsequent to that mailing, and not until very close to the penalty date, I don't know who in administration, but both administration and the auditor changed their minds and were advised that Beaufort County should not have been waiving penalties. I'm of the opinion that Beaufort County does not do enough to notify our taxpayers that they are about to get, and their mortgage company is about to get an outrageous tax bill that it is very likely will be reversed and reverted back to or given a 4%. I am and will always be in total support of us repeating the 2 years of penalty waivers we have already done without issue. And my office was happy to shoulder the operational burden of those communications. That was.
Okay, well, you're right. You're right. Thank you for that answer, and I share your opinion and your position, but I will tell you that people are being fined right now.
Yes.
Even though they get a $10,000 refund, they're still being fined for failing to pay that incorrect amount.
I
Okay.
I have in writing from the Department of Revenue, because some of our taxpayers have been misinformed. I have in writing from the Department of Revenue that I do not have the authority solely, Maria, to waive those penalties. I will tell you that the Department of Revenue also disagreed with Beaufort County's practices for the past 2 years that benefited our taxpayers. I mean, so what are you going to choose? If you're in disagreement with both, choose the thing that's in the best interest of our taxpayers. And the other thing I will point out is that you have an ordinance in place, while it is very old, that requires the assessor to notify constituents who lose their 4% or who may be eligible. I suggest that you look for that and ask Sarah, I can email it to you. But it is something that I have been asking for many years through many administrators, that the assessor's office send a notification when someone loses their 4%, which will occur potentially for a trust or anything else you were asking, Councilman McKellen, because any change to your title could prompt a loss of that 4%. I am a huge proponent of being taxpayer friendly, sometimes to the detriment of my peer departments, but that is who I am here to serve. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get so direct, but I'm.
No, listen,
it really
this
bothers me, and an issue that's quite fresh.
Okay, I'll drop the second question in consideration of time, but this is something we're going to have to address separately and not here today, but it's a bigger problem than I anticipated. I was unaware of the history. Thank you for that. And I will take this on myself with other members of council and the executive staff to see if we can reach a resolution, because it's just, to me, not fair and equitable, and we should stand for it.
You will.
Okay, thanks, Maria. Forget the question about the real estate trust, the revocable living trust. I'll pursue that in another way.
I answered it, but perhaps you had been getting up, but.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. Any change to your title, you have the possibility of losing your legal residence exemption.
Yeah, even if it's the same person's name in the revocable trust.
That would be a question for the assessor, but my understanding is that any change to the title, you'd be at risk of losing your exemption.
In Florida, by the way, they give you an exemption for that. If it's the same name and you put it in a trust, there's no change in your tax status.
I mean, it's even worse if you have a spouse that dies and you have to deal with not just your deceased spouse, but also you losing your biggest tax discount, so, yes.
And I personally had the exemption. I refinanced, and that's all I did was refinance, and that
Correct.
kicked me into the 6%.
You can lose it for that as well.
Didn't realize
Yes.
until I had to reapply
Yes.
when I got the 6% again, so I know what people are talking about.
The majority of those cases, unfortunately, those taxpayers believe that because we mailed them their bill, that we're responsible for the large drastic change. And in particular, their mortgage company paying that vastly significantly, very huge tax payment that they weren't expecting. So a lot of these phone calls are accompanied with, I can't afford my mortgage payment. In addition to, I shouldn't be paying at 6%. So, okay, any other questions about my budget?
Any other questions?
Because if you don't ask me questions, I'm assuming you like it.
Don't assume anything.
Well, Ms. Wallace, thank you for coming today. As
Thank
usual,
you
you
for
are very
having me.
prepared, and we appreciate everything that you do, and with you and your office. So again, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks for the info.
Yeah, one quick question.
coming.
Ms. Wallace, since you asked.
Yes.
It would have been 2024.
Yes, sir.
You have that too? As a
What-
comparison. You got 2025 here. You have
Yes, I can,
2024 as a
if that
comparison.
wasn't provided to you, I absolutely can give you 2024. I can tell you that what my request is $157,000 increase.
Increase.
Yes, that would make our budget about 0.19% of the dollars we handle for all of you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Good, and thank you, Ms. Wallace, for coming, and obviously the Treasurer's Department is actually very important. That's why we let you go over a little bit longer. We will try to keep everyone else to the 10 minutes, because again, just for time restraints, but again, we're not going to hold you to exactly 10 minutes, but again, we'd like to try to have that. And so the next two we have taken off our list, who's number 2 and number 3, the Sheriff's Department and also the Public Defender's Office. And that brings us then to number 4, which is the Island Recreation Center, and Mr. Frank Sewell. Mr. Sewell, thank you for coming. You've been coming here for many years, and we appreciate your time today, so thank you.
A tough act to follow. Yeah. Frank Sewell, Executive Director, Hilton Head Island Recreation Association. Want to, first of all, thank you all for the long-time partnership we've had over here with the county in support of the Island Recreation Association and the programs that we provide to Hilton Head. I'm here today to ask for $200,000 in the coming fiscal year in support of our budget. Our budget's about $3.6 million overall. As you can see from what I have here, I'm a one-slide person, so I try to keep it under 10 minutes. So, and plus I can't figure this out. So, so as you can see at the rec center, not only do we provide swim lessons, but we also provide training for both the Sheriff's Department and Fire's Department and Aqua. We also have Aqua Fitness and water aerobics. We usually have about 100 people in the pool. The dome comes down today, but we usually have 100 people in the pool in the morning hours there between Aqua Fitness, swimming laps, just a lot of stuff's going on. And this year too is part of the $200,000. I'm asking for support of fees for our children's programs too, so we can maintain those low. As you know, the association provides over 63% of its overall funding support, and a lot of that is through program fees, fundraising, and other things that we do. So the bottom photo is really our summer camp program, which we have, and kids get to use the pool on a daily basis. Part of the one thing I don't want to leave out too is that we also provide swim lessons to the elementary school, to all the PE classes, and the kids are in 2nd grade. We've already done the Hilton Head Elementary. We'll move on to the creative arts this spring. And so we have a couple hundred kids that actually get swim lessons in the 2nd grade there. Some other things that have gone on too is that we've renewed our MOU with the town of Hilton Head for 10 years. So we certainly will be around providing recreation services to the community at that time. We also had, last year we grew in participant visits. We count everybody. If you come 7 times a week, 7 times throughout the week, then you're counted 7. We had over 376,000 people come to programs that we provided throughout the community. We also have, talk a little bit, but we also have, the programs are well attended by Bluffton folks too. People who are outside of the town of Hilton Head. We have over 1,000 families that come and participate throughout the year. A lot of it are really in our summer camp programs. People that are working in Bluffton, coming to Hilton Head, need a place for childcare, and we're able to provide that. They also take advantage of our swim lessons and just participate in other programs that we provide, such as soccer, youth basketball, and other things. So that's, we're really, say we're from Hilton Head or Hilton Head Island, but really we provide programs for Southern Beaufort County and people that want to come and participate. Also in our senior programs lately, we've seen some folks come from there, Moss Creek, and from other areas that come and participate in our programs. Let's kind of go over everything. One thing too, we've now the town of Hilton Head and the county's worked out the land swap for Barker Field. That also puts scheduling and some other opportunities for us, but that also added some more expenses and other things that we're going to see in the coming fiscal year in operating that facility. So that's really it. I'm trying to keep underneath your 10 minutes. So
let me make a comment before I open up for questions, is the fact that the Island Rec Center has been doing this for a very, very long time. And they've been, at least in my opinion, even before I became a council person, kind of like the county representative offering the rec services to the town of Hilton Head. And we don't have any Bluffton rec centers, that aren't county owned, that are run by that particular town, and there's nothing that's Beaufort County run, Beaufort City run. So the rest of the county's paying for the recreation services. On Hilton Head, y'all are providing those services and we are helping to then subsidize that because again, you're representing yourself as well as the county when it comes to the pool and the other activities going on. So again, that's my take on how they've done a great job of serving the public that go there. So let me open up to any other questions go.
Understanding that point also, but I would like to see, because of the 25% increase, I'd like to see a breakdown of what the money was used for last year from us and what the increase is for before we vote on it at the regular council.
I can get that to you.
That would be great.
Yeah.
If you could give it to Ms. Altoff and then she could get it to us.
Right.
A breakdown of exactly what this increase is for.
The increase for what we spent last year?
Both.
Okay,
Both.
thank you.
Thank you.
So how many years were you receiving 150, or was that just last year?
So we're in our second year of the 150.
What was it before that?
It was, it was $300,000 before
So
that.
that went down.
So it went down, yes.
So this year you're asking for 200,000, which is a 34% increase, Ms. Howard. This number's wrong. It's 1/3 of what they already have. So what are you using that for? Can you just capsulate?
Well, some of it, obviously, we've seen increases in the cost of operations across the board, chemicals for the pool and other things, but we've also staffing. Hiring a lifeguard is very challenging. We start lifeguards out at $15 an hour. I can tell you 3 years ago, before COVID, we're starting them out at $13 an hour or less. So we've seen an increase in staffing costs right across the board. And secondly, our challenge is also to try to keep our camp fees and other fees low for parents. As we know, everything's gone up. The cost of doing business is going up. And I've mentioned staffing not only at the pool, but within our organization has gone up significantly. So that's where a lot of the percentage is going up. But generally, the cost of doing business has really kind of skyrocketed, as we all know in here. I mean, we all go to the food store, so.
All right, any other questions? Let me ask the same question that I asked Maria. So with regard to your budget every year, do y'all carry a surplus? Do you carry a reserve or is there?
We do carry some funding that what we call is a somewhat of a reserve, but it's really set aside for a storm or anything like that. And that's what we do carry some of that, but we never rolled it back into our budget to balance our budget. We're more concerned about being out of operations if there's a storm, and similar to what we experienced in Matthew.
And I think that the one thing I've always been impressed with in the past is the fact that you all do a lot of your own fundraising, raise your own money. And I think that what your request to us in years past has only been 3 or 4 or 5 or 6% of your total budget that you're asking us for. Is everything else you raise on your own and bring in through different avenues?
Yes, sir. It's 5% this year of our overall budget.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Chairman? Mr. Chairman, if I may? Yeah, just a comment, no question. This is a valuable resource for the people on Hilton Head and for the people who live in the surrounding areas, perhaps in the unincorporated areas of Beaufort County. The money that is being spent here really supports the aquatic program. Costs have gone up for salaries, benefits, and chemicals, which Frank didn't mention, just for the pool, which services hundreds of people on a daily basis throughout the year. The programs are remarkable. The people who use the programs treasure them, and they travel quite a distance to come to this facility. If you've ever been there and seen it, and I'm talking to everyone in the audience, you would walk away visibly impressed with what you've seen. So I just want to make a clear statement that I am in full support of this request, a strong supporter of the Island Rec Center, and I'm not really sure, other than what Frank has already submitted, he can submit on top of that to allay any fears that this increase of $50,000 is not appropriate. I know he'll go back and try and put some things together, but I think essentially what you have to realize is this is paying the cost of the entire aquatic program for chemicals, personnel, and the running of the pool on a year-round basis, because the pool is open in the winter. They just put a roof on it, and in the summer they take it off. So this is not something that's seasonal. This is a year-round event. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I've been there recently, and was very impressed with it, but again, that's why I would like to see more details. And I again request that, and I don't think it'd be too much onerous to do that.
Mr. Swope, you just make sure that Sarah would get her any information that you've got, or to our finance department, or we worked with before. And any other questions for Mr. Sewell? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Sewell, thank you for coming out. Thank you
Good
for keeping
seeing you,
your
Chairman
information
Washington.
brief, and again, look forward to seeing you again, so thank you. All right, let's move on then to number 5, which is the LRTA, the Palmetto Breeze. And I think we've got Ms. Franzoni, the Executive Director.
Yes, sir.
And who else do you have with
I
you
have
today?
my finance director, Christine
good.
Hepburn.
Christy, thank you for coming as well. Mary, the floor is yours, so go ahead and tell us what.
Well, thank you so much for inviting us to present our budget. And I want to begin by just going over fairly briefly what we do. So often, folks that I meet out don't really know what Palmetto Breeze does. And once we tell them what we do, they go, oh, I've seen your buses. So I just wanted to do a quick explanation. We have a commuter bus service. We have a dial-a-ride where people can call for rides. And we have some, in Beaufort, we have demand response, which have routes but can deviate to go to their house. And we have service in Bluffton and service in Hilton Head. This is a map of our routes, mostly our commuter route system. And as you can see, we cover 5 counties. We bring a lot of people to work. And it used to be when we first started in 1978 that we brought people to work in Hilton Head. And that's changed now, that we bring them to work in Bluffton, along 170, in Hardyville. Everywhere we go, it seems people are getting on and off because we're busier and busier. And so the commuter service is quite valuable for all of the businesses inside, not in the faraway counties. We also do the emergency operations, and we did a great job in Matthew. I learned a lot going through that. And as a result, we now also offer some support to Jasper County. And as you know, over on the south of the Broad, Jasper and Beaufort are, cross the street and you're in Jasper, and cross back and you're in Beaufort. So we weren't going to draw that line, but we have an agreement now with Jasper that if indeed we do evacuation, we go to Jasper with the folks, that we will give them a count of how many came out of Jasper County so that they can reimburse us for that. What I want to say, what not everybody may know, but due to the census in 2020, we have a second urbanized area, and that is the city of Beaufort and the town of Port Royal. And what that means is that we're going to get additional federal funds, close to $1 million a year for the city of Beaufort and town of Port Royal. So anticipating that coming, we, through the LCOG, have put out an RFP for a study of transportation north of the Broad. We are about to award that contract. We had 8 respondents to the study, and we're very happy with who we're choosing, and that work will start in April. It's a year-long project. And we'll have a lot of stakeholders, everybody over north of the Broad that's interested. We will get people in to be stakeholders and to understand what we're trying to do and what it takes to make that happen. Just try to decide whether this is the time or I'll just keep going. All right, here's, if you notice that trolley, you can't really see it, but in the back it says Beaufort trolley. And people in Beaufort, city of Beaufort, have asked me over and over about a trolley, a downtown trolley, transportation, because there is no parking. Very similar to Hilton Head, and lots of visitors and guests. And if we could circulate people around like we do on Hilton Head, it would make a huge difference in the traffic, the parking, and the visitors' experience. What we've learned in Hilton Head is that the trolleys are ahead. People really enjoy riding them. And we've based all kinds of activities around riding the trolley, and they're very popular. We're also looking at, and it depends on funding really, but through the Federal Transit Administration, if we can show we have local match for any capital projects, the local match is 20% on the dollar. So I believe what the city of Beaufort needs is a downtown transit center where folks can go to wait for a bus or get information. I made a joke about it being multimodal because the horses could come up, but also so could Greyhound. You know, it could be a transportation center for everyone. And so I think that that's something that could happen here. And there's a lot of things that could happen, and that's what the study's going to lay out. It's really you know, how much do the local people want to put into their transportation system? How important is it? So this is the rural summary for 2025, and you can see the federal grant covers a lot of it. The state gives us money, but they don't give us a lot of money. And then we have to have a match. We don't really have a dedicated source of funding. Property tax, sales tax are about the two ways you can get funding in the state of South Carolina. So that's the rural side of the budget. And this is what I want to show, what happened. On the urban side of the budget, we divided up the local match based on a percentage of population. And prior to the 2020 census is the pie graph on the left. And the town of Hilton Head paid more than half of the local match on the urban side. And you can see the percentages there. Well, 2020 comes, the population's gone up 36,000, and I would say almost entirely in Bluffton, because I live in Bluffton. But Hilton Head did not go up, and unincorporated Beaufort and the town of Bluffton have blown up. It changes the percentage, and that had a lot to do with our increase in our local match ask for last year. And here's the urban side of the budget. And again, you can see the federal grants pay the majority of it, and the local match comes in, you know, 573,000. So that's just a breakdown of the rural area, because a lot of times when I do these presentations, people want to know, what do the other people pay? And everybody is paying, and Beaufort County Beaufort County, town of Hilton Head doesn't have any rural transportation. They kick in 50,000 every year to help, because people come from the rural areas to work in Hilton Head. This is a comparison of 24 to 25, and you can see it's very similar in how much we need to operate. And so what happened last year, I have to say, and you can see this is every year, the red is Beaufort County. Well, last year, our population split changed the percentage for Beaufort County, in addition to the fact that the grants went up. The cost of living has gone up for everyone, so they gave us additional grant funds. So on two sides, we needed additional money from Beaufort County. We made the request. There was transition over in management here in Beaufort County. And we were quite surprised when the budgets came out and we were given the same amount as the year before. As you can see on the graph, the middle one was not near enough. And so when you see in our request for this year, we're asking for the shortfall of $161,752 from last year. We met with the budget director and the interim county administrator several times to discuss this. What we typically do when the match is, people can't pay the match, is that we cut back the service. That's the only really responsible thing to do. You can't do things that aren't being paid for. So during those meetings, we said, okay, well, if Beaufort County isn't going to pay this, we're going to cut back the service so that we're not overspending. Oh, no, we're going to pay, we just have to find the money. And here we are in March, and I'm asking for that for this year to make up for what we've already spent, because we don't want to cut our service, but that's the prudent thing to do if we can't fund it. And it shows in the budget request that we're really asking for $555,857 for this year. And, but we're asking for the shortfall. Any questions?
Any questions for Ms. Franzoni?
I have one question. Going back to the very beginning, you said $1 million. That was just for the study for the north of the Broad. You said from federal money, the $1 million?
Oh, no, we get an annual law. Oh, you mean for City of Beaufort, Town of Port Royal? We've gotten preliminary numbers. The apportionment table is not out completely because there's no transportation bill, but it looks like we're going to receive somewhere around $900,000 $100,000 to start with.
And that's to provide the.
Right, it's to go to the project for City of Beaufort and Town of Port Royal. What happened when Hilton Head Bluffton became an urbanized area? I came in 2014, and see, we're in 2024, after the census there, and they began putting grant money in grants in 2014, 15, 16. We weren't a grantee until 2017. Well, all of that money was still there. And so we got the match and we bought buses, and so that money's not going anywhere.
But it could be, it will require a match.
Yes, everything requires a
And
match.
if we were, because part of Port Royal is on Ladies Island and so is the city of Beaufort, it could have a route.
Yes, ma'am. What we're looking for in the study, and I'd love if you'd like to be a stakeholder, we're going to have urban services and rural services, and they will join together. But part of the vision is to have a circulator that goes through the downtown Beaufort and over to Ladies Island and make that loop.
Okay, very good, thank you.
I actually have a couple of things. One, I'd like to be part of that discussion.
Yes,
moving
sir.
Forward. One, and the other part of the discussion is how can we get you some type of permanent funding? Because that was gonna be a question that I asked that you brought up, is there doesn't seem to be any dedicated funding for you.
Well, I am very hopeful that the transportation tax that's coming through in the fall, I do believe has funding for Palmetto Breeze in it. That would be the local match funding. Well, I'm also asking if we can get capital money put in there, and I'm hopeful that it will be for a transit center and we probably need a maintenance and facility over here, because riding the buses back and forth, you're paying the drivers and you're wearing your buses out. So you need to have them parked here. Right now, our Beaufort drivers park them in their yards. It's not ideal. Somebody comes out, the bus won't start, we miss a trip because they're not at a facility where somebody can hand them another bus. So it's way less than ideal, but we do the best we can.
And the other thing I was gonna ask you, with this increase for the budget request, would you be able to go back and redo some of the fees associated with the riders? Because I've had a lot of people actually reach out to me, seeing if there was a pass they could get or something to keep their costs down. Most of the folks that are calling me are on a fixed income.
So there's several things, and part of the study is just that. I tried to tackle revamping Beaufort County at one time, and it's just too big for any single person to do. We charge a lot, I believe, at $3.75 for a one-way trip, but it's a blanket. Like, you could be going from Walmart downtown and it's $3.75, or you could be going from Dale to Ladies Island and it's $3.75. So it's just been tough to make those changes.
And I understand that, but do you think with the new study coming out and everything with this budget, do you think there's a chance of that?
But that's part of what the focus is, and I'm going to tell you, the user fees just make the grants last longer, really, because when we pull down our operating money, we have to take the fares out. So if we have $100 we want to be reimbursed for, and we got $20 in fares, we take the 20 out and we get 50% of that. So from the federal government, we get $40. We get our $20 in fares is $60, and then we need $40 local match. So it makes the grants last longer, but it really doesn't enrich us like people might think it does. And I do believe that the fares are a barrier to have a very robust system. But it's not just that. It's having transportation over here in Beaufort that runs more than once in the morning and once in the evening. And I really believe that there's a lot of people that are struggling over here, and the higher the costs for the cars are incredibly outrageous in price, the less people are going to be able to afford a personal vehicle. And I think this is something that would really benefit north of the Broad in Beaufort County, is to have a more robust transportation system.
I agree with you.
Go ahead.
And I'll ask, I got two questions.
So you said you were shorted 161,752, somewhere around that number. So when the ask is for this year, that's in there.
Yes, it is.
But it really should have been in last year.
It was in last year's.
It was part of the 337?
No, what happened was Mr. Greenway just said, give everybody the same as the year before, without really looking at it.
correct. So if I added it into the 337, your ask last year was roughly 498, 849.
Yes, ma'am.
So your ask this year, leaving that out, is 555, 857, which is not nearly a 53% increase.
No, it is not.
Okay, I just want to make sure, because I'm looking at the form we have, it is not a 53% increase.
No, ma'am. It's just, I hate to even mix the years, but I didn't know at this point what else to do.
All right, and obviously the one question was about surplus and carryover that I've asked everybody else, but you've already said you were at a deficit last year.
I think that's an interesting question, being that we get our money on a reimbursement basis and we don't get reimbursed 100%. So I'm not sure where the surplus would even come from.
Okay, well, that's, can you answer that question? And secondly, I think I saw where you had $153,000 in revenue. So does that mean if we take the 375 and divide it into that, that'll tell us how many passengers you had or how many passengers?
Oh, I have statistics for everything if you need them. It's not a huge number, but we carry, look, after I said that, I go blank. I believe we're at around 200,000 a year of individual trips that people take.
Okay, good. Any other questions?
Oh, one question. Does that include the trolley that runs?
Yes, ma'am. We have we carried 35,000 last year from April through Labor Day.
Wow.
And, the first year there was nobody on it. And I remember in front of council there and, well, no one's riding. I said, give it a minute. Because everything takes some time. And I will make sure there's an invitation to everyone on council to come to at least one stakeholder meeting and more if you're interested.
Has your ridership increased with your new loop by Sun City?
A little bit.
I didn't expect it would.
Yeah, a little bit. We have some dedicated riders. We have one gentleman in Sun City that really likes us. We have people that live in behind the Walmart that are riding us. We have a USCB student that goes to work every day. Goes to school every day. So it is slowly building. But I think rather than looking at it and saying, oh, we'll just cut that out, I think what will make that go is a link to Hilton Head. And so it's not less, it's more, but when you're doing it a piece at a time, it's hard to get a network that people find attractive.
USCB uses you for their.
They do.
Their dedicated, that goes from USCB North to USCB, the other campuses.
Yes, we have a memorandum of agreement with them, and this is maybe the 4th or 5th year, and they do support the system. So it's a really good partnership. And that is our bus, the light blue bus.
All right, good. Any other questions? If not, we will move on. Ms. Franzoni, thank you for coming. We appreciate you being here as always.
Thank you.
And she is the CEO of the Palmetto Breeze, and thank you, Ms. Hepburn, for also coming today. And I think you are officially the finance director. Is that? Yes. Okay, good. Well, again, thank you for coming. All right, let's move on then to our next presentation, and that is the, let me see here, Beaufort Regional Chamber of Commerce representing the Military Enhancement Committee. And this is Ms. Morris, Megan Morris, is that correct?
That's correct. Thank you.
Thank you for being here, Ms. Morris.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us. I am actually here on behalf of Neil Puglisi, who is the chairman of the MEC, the Military Enhancement Committee. He could not be here today due to a prior engagement. In fact, I think he had a couple other things. So he asked me to present today, and I will make sure that if there are questions that I'm not quite poised to answer, I will notate them, ask him and our crew, and get back to you on those. Thanks first to Councilwoman Alice Howard. She does serve as the MEC's council liaison. So Alice, thank you for your continued support, which means you are staying in the know. The Military Enhancement Committee is actually just surpassed a great milestone of being 20 years old. So that's very exciting. In the past couple of years, we've really regrouped. We've rebranded, re-engaged the stakeholders and the committee members, and we've charged forward with a much more proactive approach to how that we create the opportunities that we do for our community to support the military bases here in Beaufort. The mission has stayed the same, to facilitate community and government support, sustain and enhance quality and value of the installations throughout Beaufort County, and to help document and communicate the base's contributions not only to our local economy, but to national security. As you may know, BRACs, which is base realignment and closure, are not used today. That's not something that is politically motivating to do, but there's a lot of movement in the federal system, and there are a lot of different kinds of threats to our local bases. The structure of the MEC, just a quick recap, it's a public-private partnership. The chamber is the fiscal agent of the MEC and also does a pretty heavy lift on administrative support, which saves money to not have to hire someone in order to help the MEC fulfill its charter. There are 11 voting members on the MEC, and 2 of them are in Beaufort County appointees. So you all approve who is on the MEC board on Beaufort County's behalf, which is the largest representation on the committee. And Warren Parker and Ed Saxon are currently your 2 county appointees. We have also a military state task force, military-based task force representative, which is very helpful, as I'll show you later, in helping us secure funding. And bringing in funding for our bases is a very important objective. We do receive the funding through the chamber as the fiscal agent, keep it as a separate line item on our budget always for both revenues and expenses, and reserve the funds for uses by the MEC only. In the past 2 years, the county has given $100,000, and the city and the town here north of Broad have contributed $15,000. Really are driving reasons for what we do, as you know well. The Parris Island Recruit Depot is where if we make Marines, and anybody who lives east of the Mississippi comes to Parris Island. It is the single Eastern recruiting depot. So Parris Island is very, very important, and it has a great history here, which you see in number 2. It's the cradle of the Corps. So 20,000 plus recruits go through Parris Island and graduate each year. And as you know too, the F-35 program at MCAS Beaufort has been built up. Both of those bases have a huge stake in national security and have made huge investments from federal and state levels into their progress over recent years. The economic impact numbers I'm about to share with you are the last official numbers that were reported in 2022. So we are working on some updated numbers now with friends at the state level and with the Department of Veterans Affairs. We do know that at least, if not greater now, there is a $2.5 billion annual impact within our region, which is more than a quarter and almost a third of our total economy here. So to put that into scale, that's pretty impressive. There are over 10,000 service member jobs in our area. And when you count their spouses or family members also participating in our local labor force, that's almost 20,000 jobs. Again, we're working on updated numbers. We expect all of those to increase, but these are really the reasons why we as a MEC do what we do and why we are grateful that our local municipalities support this effort. Some general functions that we do all the time, every day, every year, is ongoing dialogue with local base leaders. The MEC is a trusted liaison. They have very close relationships with base commanders and base staff. The relationships forged there are very important, and linkage between the bases and the community is one of those intangible necessities. And base commanders tell us all the time how important it is to have a collaborative community group for them to interact with and to help support the ecosystem and the community in which they know their service members need to thrive. We attend all military ceremonies, represent the community at a lot of official events. So these are some general functions that are important to us. We also track and analyze policy, whether it's the federal level, like most decisions and funding come from for our bases, or the state level, which again does support infrastructure improvements, or even the local level. An example of that is the adoption of the IGSA, which you all did this year, which was really, really impressive. The NDAA that comes out every year, we read through that jazz. The executive summary itself was almost 100 pages, but it also can have a big influence on our local area, so we keep track of all those things. Happy to share that with you all if you want some reading one night. Then we also just continue to coordinate funding and support between governments, partners, and the bases. When I said we are re-engaging our committee and diversifying what we are doing, I'm saying we, again, speaking on behalf of the military enhancement community members, there's been some really unique opportunities presented to us and made by us. Of course, we're going to continue those important relationship and liaison efforts. And of course, we're going to continue to identify and advocate for investments in an infrastructure and resiliency. Two examples most recently that you're aware of is the multi-use pathway between Laurel Bay and the air station, and also the new oyster reef and barrier work that was done on the shores of Parris Island to help protect it. A couple of things that are unique this year that we want to play as heavy a hand in as we can to help facilitate is working with our base education offices and transition teams to increase workforce development opportunities for our service members. We tout all the time, Kelly and John over at Economic Development, us at the Chamber, how important it is to have a built-in labor pool and workforce through those service members who are transitioning, whether they're retiring or finishing up a term of service. We can do better to help find them a place to work here in Beaufort. Our businesses need us to do that. It would be a great service to those service members who already live here and love living here. So that's one thing we want to work on. We are in the very beginning phases of what that looks like, but we've made some really great contacts at both Parris Island and at the air station to begin working on that. Of course, we want to do what we can to promote and support IGSA opportunities, and we're hopefully going to be part of a big announcement for a VA clinic, a standalone VA clinic this year in Beaufort County, likely in northern Beaufort County, and that is going to serve 25,000 VA beneficiaries who live in our area. That is a game changer. And one of the reasons it's a game changer, not just for the services it will provide, but that lessens the need for the services currently offered at the Naval Hospital. We've told you for about a year and a half now that there have been plans for increased services, both through the VA clinic that's coming, as well as the new clinics that the federal government, the military, would like to build aboard the Marine Corps Air Station and or Parris Island. I think that's evolving a little bit. We need to get out of the way of that, but support what they decide and move forward. That lessens the need for the services that take up 120 acres that now serves as the Naval Hospital. So the MEC forged a Defense Community Partnership Task Force, and they are looking very carefully at that project and advocating on behalf of it. We've completed phase 1 and are entering phase 2. So I want to make sure that I'm transparent in that we are working on developing budgets and needs, and we'll have to be proactive with some of the things we've agreed to work on this year or want to work on this year, but we also are awaiting some decisions that are being made at the federal level. And we're pushing carefully, but their timetable will then create our timetable. So expenses for these upcoming projects is not totally determined. And we are actually doing something unique this year. If you've seen it before, then maybe I filed it back in my archives somehow. We are asking for level funding, not an increase in level funding, but actually we would accept a decrease in the funding from the county this year if our federal level ideas aren't coming to fruition as soon as we would like. So while we're asking for $100,000, which is level funding, we're asking for 15% of that grant award when you make your decisions, and an allocation of 85% for us to tap into upon approval of next big game changer steps with the Naval Hospital project and others. Do want to just hit briefly on the Naval Hospital project. As I said, the new VA clinic and the ambulatory care clinics that will be on bases, those things haven't yet been appropriated for, although they are being planned in the long term. So short term, our push is to come up with some really thoughtful and creative ways that the space can be used collaboratively. The MEC did charter the task force to do that for the reasons you see there. And just like with the MEC, where there is a representative throughout the county, the Defense Community Partnership Task Force also has a county rep and other reps from around the region. The Beaufort County rep for the task force is Hank Emmondson. The 3 goals of that task force, what they're working towards, is what you see there, executable and fully supported plan by both our local governments, our base leaders, and then the federal level DOD and DHA. DHA actually owns the dirt that the Naval Hospital is on. And the Naval Hospital is actually the oldest medical facility in all of the nation that is currently still in use. So it has definitely served its purpose well for 60-plus years. Two things I put down at the bottom of this slide is underutilized. We've done a lot of work in the past year with the funds that you all have given us and getting to subject matter experts and key connections that have helped us understand the array of opportunities there are with a site that is owned by the federal government. We are angling to have the property classified as underutilized, which opens up a bevy of options for us as a local community. We are in contact with the base commanders constantly about this project as well to make sure they have buy-in and support of it. And what we hope to do, and in the next couple of weeks, we will be pitching this idea of an enhanced use lease in phases to the Department of the Navy. So exciting things are about to happen. Just a quick comparison here, this Air Force Base in Charleston was closed by BRAC in the early 90s. 30 years later, they are still working to do economic development on this site. What they've been able to do so far has created a lot of jobs and a lot of opportunity and grown the tax base. What we want to do is be proactive, and as soon as the opportunity presents itself, be able to do some of the things that we know will benefit our bases and our community. I haven't used my notes at all. And then just to wrap up, I wanted to make sure that when I spoke to the opportunity of working closely with re-employing service members in our area, this is why. So if you've paid attention to some of the chamber's data releases lately, you've seen this. We are well above state average in the age groups from 15 to 24 years of age, and that is largely contributed by those who are serving in the military. You can see in that top map, there's 3 distinct tan areas within our region. The darker the color of that heat map, the older the average age of the resident. So not surprisingly, Air Station Laurel Bay and Parris Island are the 3 that are youngest areas in our region north of Broad. We are severely lagging from ages 25 to 54 in number of folks in the workforce. So this is a huge need for our community and a huge opportunity if we can better link our service members who are separating. We also want to make sure that this trend changes because right now 2028 projections 5 years from now show it actually getting worse. And then last, if you would like to join us at Military Appreciation Day, this is something we do annually. This is something that helps the MEC get some community awareness as well, and they are part of it. We make sure their brand is part of it. That's happening April 25th. You're all invited, and anyone who's listening that has a military ID, current or retired, is welcome to come and enjoy a really fun, free evening as we thank our service members. Any questions?
Great, thank you, Ms. Morris. Any questions for Ms. Morris?
I have a couple of questions. On the VA clinic, is that being funded by the federal government?
Yes.
Oh, okay. And the workforce development with service members, I know Southern Carolina Alliance is bringing a lot of companies from, you already know what I'm gonna say.
No, that's a great
Are
point.
bringing in companies from overseas, and we really need, workforce. And if we don't get the workforce, they'll go to Georgia, North Carolina, or somewhere else.
Yeah, simultaneously, the Chamber's working on a new Young Professionals Network program, but this one will be specific to MEC efforts, and we're really excited about it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
I do.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes. Want to go back to the Naval Hospital. And you said we ought to be proactive in that venue. Tell me, what are some of the things that you think needs to happen to make it smooth a transition into economic development for this county? It is in the city or town of Port Royal.
Town of
right?
Port Royal, technically.
Yeah, is that something that the county needs to be seriously looking at getting a piece of that, or all of it, or?
Well, that is a level of detail we hope to get to in the coming year. We do, as I mentioned, we've done enough of the legwork to scope it out and make connections to where we can come together as a community and share a community plan with DOD, with Navy. And we are told that is a very well-received way to do it, that is very important to show community buy-in when you're making these large levels of presentations. So to go back to your question, but still answer kind of generally, we'd like to encourage and advocate for the property to be classified as underutilized when they're ready to make a change to the status of the property, because that opens up doors like doing phased-in leases of certain buildings or areas that are already there. So we envision it being a multi-pronged project if we can get it classified as an underutilized property by the Navy, DHA, and if they are open to enhanced use lease.
Sure. And the last question, how many units, residential units are on that property? Do you have any idea?
I don't want to misquote. I could guess. There is one barracks that houses around 30 service members, and there is a housing complex that has 50.
Maybe, I think it's only 50, 60% occupied.
Yeah.
It's about 50?
Yeah, about 50 houses. That's a roundabout figure, and they're not all full.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. That was Ms. Megan Morris, who is the interim CEO for the Beaufort Regional Chamber of Commerce. So again, thank you, Ms. Morris, for coming today and presenting. And next up, we have Mr. Martin Goodman. He's the area manager and business consultant for the Small Business Development Center. Mr. Goodman, thank you for coming today. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you. You may pass it on you.
We can pass it.
Yeah.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and I think the things are coming around. The Small Business Development Center program is, we're federal, state, and locally supported. It is part of a national network, and we are very pleased to be here. I have been with the SBDC here for about 31 years, and it is a very robust program in the Low Country. The Small Business Development Center program provides one-on-one business consulting to individuals from startup through existing business, growing and expanding businesses. We help with entrepreneurs to work through deciding if business is is something that they need to be doing or want to be doing. We certainly help them once they make that decision to make sure that they find the funding that they need. A lot of what we do revolves around the funding for small businesses. We assist those folks create business loan packages, application packages. We do business plans with our clients. We help them with the financial projections. A lot of our clients come from referrals from banks. Over the past few years, we have been extremely busy working with individuals who are buying existing businesses with acquisitions. We were getting a lot of referrals from banks during that period. However, once interest rates started going up, banks started slowing down, and that has slowed down. Many projects, as we work with clients, and especially on the financial side, which is a lot of what I do, they determine that they're not able to make the business acquisition cash flow and pay the debt with interest rates and as high as 10, 11%, not the norm, but much higher than what they were a couple of years ago. So, you know, our business or our activity flows with the economy. We are working right now more with with entrepreneurs than those types of larger businesses with acquisitions, but we're busy. The Small Business Development Center program in Beaufort County, we are in partnership with USCB. I am located at the USCB campus here in Beaufort, and our consultant that covers the southern part of the county is Pat Cameron. Pat has been with us for in excess of 25 years as well. Her office is at the Hilton Head campus of USCB. She primarily takes care of most of the southern part. I take care of the northern part, and then we kind of catch all those in the middle and Okatee and in the surrounding areas of Beaufort County. You know, these are our numbers. We are an economic development partner with Beaufort County. We create economic impact with the small businesses. We work closely with John O'Toole and Charlie at the Economic Development Corporation. We get referrals from them. In fact, I got a referral today that John sent a client to see me, so we work with them. We're pretty much under their threshold. We work with the clients that's under the threshold that they're looking at. They're looking at the larger businesses and bringing them here. While part of what we can do is work with them for the supplier base and help them with the small businesses that can support the larger businesses here in the county. In the numbers, you'll see that we served 183 clients. These are clients who have signed up with us. These are new clients for 2023. And, you know, we have a vast group of clients that is not in this number that are existing clients that we continue to work with. This does not count the many folks that we work with that contact us that want to know, how do I get a business license? Where do I go to get business licenses? Just general information questions, and they generally never get to a point of actually signing up and registering as a client. Last year, we assisted our clients with 14 business starts, and this is a good number for 2023. With that, we assisted them in capital and finding funding for $4.2 million. That number is down strictly because most of the activity was in the beginning of the year when when lending was a little more aggressive. But since it stopped and slowed down, we're not getting the numbers of folks now, and the deals are going from millions or multi-million-dollar deals down to $40,000, $50,000 to $100,000 deals. So we put the same amount of work and effort into a $50,000 loan package as we do a $2 million loan package. And then the jobs are there. Those are jobs that were created. We also count the jobs that we call them retained jobs, and those are jobs that are a result of some of the acquisitions. You know, we're extremely happy of the results. We think that hopefully the economy will turn. We've all been in business and around business for years, and the economy is always cyclical. If it goes down, it'll come back up. If it goes, you know, interest rates go up, they'll come back down. And but interest rates right now are what's holding up a lot of the lending, and that's where we've come into a lot of that. And happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Goodman?
We're not asking for an increase. We're at the same level that I think we've been for 3, maybe this is the 4th year.
Okay.
So.
Ms. Tabernick?
So what's your overall budget?
For this area office and Hilton Head, it's just a little over $100,000.
So
obviously, we do not pay rent because we're in a partnership with the university and they provide us space, an office space. Our budget consists primarily of mine and Pat's salaries, some travel, and some chamber dues and supplies. We're pretty lean. in that most all of our offices around the state and certainly here in Beaufort County, we don't have to pay rent or have occupational costs. Thankfully, with our partnership with USCB, and we feel like we're an outreach for USCB into the business community locally.
Any other questions?
No, I just want to thank Mr. Goodman for all the work he's done over the years. So just want to say thank you.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it. It's fun.
Oh, absolutely. Mr. Goodman, thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate very concise report like you always do. And Mr. Goodman is the Area Manager of Business Consultant for the Small Business Development Center. Okay, Mr. Goodman, thank you for coming today. Let's move on then to next up is Keep Beaufort County Beautiful. And this is Chris Campbell. And Chris is the chairman of the Keep Beaufort County Beautiful Board.
Thank you. And thank you for having me. Thank me for allowing me to make a presentation. I also would like to thank this gentleman for all his years of work. He's helped a lot of people. Keep Beaufort County Beautiful has been an official board for 20 years. We've been in existence for 35 years. Our little charter says that we're entitled to a budget. Several years ago, let me back up. A year ago, senior county administrator came to me and said, listen, we would like for you to look at some projects that might be a little easier for you to do than it is for us because of who we were. I'm the chairman of the Keep Beaufort County Beautiful, by the way. And I said, sure, that's what we want to do. So we went out and looked at some projects around the county, and one of them in particular, starting at the Cumbee River, coming into Gardens Corner, we wanted to highlight areas where the view is pretty going out in each way, which is not really a lot of work. In fact, the DOT is like to do it too. But it's all part of what we call a pilot project that we would eventually go around to all the corners of the county and do once we learn how to do it. I mean, everybody has to learn a little something. So we were asking for, we had the greenery come in, and we were going to start at Gardens Corner, which needs some new planning. The bridge over Paris Bridge is lacking some, it needs a little update. And it's a very important part, new plantings and things like that. We would like to add it says 2 flagpoles, that's a mistake. It's 1 flagpole in the center of the circle there, which would be kind of cool. It'll be the American flag and the state flag. The ladies on my board and myself would like to do some wildfire plantings around the county in different places. We're going to try it, see how it does. You know, if it does, then we'll keep doing it, you know. I don't think there's anything to lose there. Little areas like when you go across the Broad River Bridge, they have little planters there on each end. We'd like to make some enhancements to things like that. I mean, again, nobody on my board makes a salary. There's no money. We're all volunteers. So anything that we do to help Beaufort County would be a good thing. 2 new signs we want to do for one end of the Highway 17 entrance into the county and the other end of the Highway 17 entrance of the county and down in Pocataligo. Cumbee and Pocataligo, we want to do these small replicas of the old rice trunks that are done years and years ago. They were built by all the local early developers of this county. We want to have a little plaque on them that says, you know, this is what these guys did a long time ago. They were the first developers of this county. We're very proud of them. We want to do that. We also want to implement the litter control. And one of our main functions is litter. One of my main things in life is litter. And I have a little Sheldon litter. We get a grant from through Friends of Gardens Corner. We get a grant of $10,000 every year from Palmetto Pride that we go out and I lend them my truck and they do go out and they pick up litter in Sheldon. Anywhere that's bad, we kind of keep a look on everything around the neighborhood, see how it's looking. First year we picked up 733 bags of litter. Second year we picked up 823 bags of litter. This year we're probably going to be right around that same number too. Is it improving? Yes. Does it go right back down again? Yeah, sometimes, but I think people are getting the idea, which is good. But also, we want to improve, like, for instance, if this year Christmas was coming, you know, the grass is dead, the litter's everywhere and looks terrible, we would be able to bring in an outside contractor, which is a little less cumbersome than, the county has great people working in this department. There's no, you know, there are people. But it's hard to get people to, it's not a job that a person wants to make a career in, picking up litter. But I have them, there are groups out there that do it all the time. There are people on the highways and all the way around, and we have contacts to find these groups. In fact, I know of one right now that would be eager to help us. So in certain instances, like, well, my wife would always say we should do it all the time, but there's certain interests when it's bad, we could bring in these outside contractors and walk right up Highway 17 and right up into Highway 21 and right on through the county at times when we need to do it. I mean, the Heritage, the Air Show, Christmas, Thanksgiving, it would help them. And an interesting thing that has just come up is the state legislature was giving Highway Department this county, $6 million to the state. This county got $146,000, and Elizabeth out at DOT was able to go out and pick up litter every time they mowed, which was great. Well, they didn't get that funding this year, so it's kind of, you know, all of a sudden you think there's light at the end of the tunnel, and then it gets dark again. So we would use those funds for that as well. Keep in mind, we've never had a budget. This is our first time. But I have some really intelligent people on my board, and I think that we would do a very good job. A little administrative costs, Adopt a Highway program, we want to help them out. There's 106 groups of people who go out and volunteer, pick up litter all the time, and they come in, and we should have a nice little gathering with them, and we should have, it's a training session. We teach them how, make sure they're safe doing this and that, and provide them with all the materials they need. And that really just about covers it. I don't have to go into too much detail. We're going to try to make the county a little bit better, and we're the right people to do it, I think. And other than the county employees, they do a good job too, but they need help.
All right, Mr. Goodman, thank you for your presentation.
Yep.
Is there any, I'm sorry, Mr. Campbell, I apologize, Chris.
Right, Campbell, Chris Campbell.
Yep, sorry, Mr. Campbell. Is there any questions for Mr. Campbell?
Where is Gardens Corner and Joe Fraser Circle? Is that Joe Fraser on Hill?
Yeah, and excuse me, I kind of overlooked that. Joe Fraser Circle is over near Habersham. And it's a circle the DOT put in, and all we're going to do is just take all the weeds out and put in, and the greenery is going to help us do that, and put in just some low plantings and just make it look more attractive. And the same thing with the Gardens Corner. We want people, when they come into this county, realize we got it together all over, not just going on Hilton Head, the whole county.
But what
And
about
it's easy
Gardens
to
Corner?
do.
Gardens Corner, where's that?
Pardon me?
Gardens Corner?
That's out at Highway 17 and 21.
Oh.
You know, if you're going to Charleston,
Oh, okay, all right.
you go out there and take a ride.
And I noticed in my district between Belfair and Rose Hill Plantations, there's a small sign that says Keep Beaufort County Beautiful. Are you aware of that?
I'm not, you know.
I have a feeling.
Who put it there?
I have a feeling maybe the person that's on the committee for District 8, my district.
Might have done that.
May have put that up.
Maybe they did something there at one time and then they never came back to it.
It's still there, I was surprised.
Well, I've been the chairman for 4 years and, you know, we're,
It was like one of the political, like the size of
Right.
political signs is Keep Beaufort County Beautiful.
I'll go check into that.
Yeah.
And we are going to do some wildflowers in the Bluffton area. Again, we're going to just we're not going to go out there and spend a whole bunch of money, and we're going to do little small areas. We're going to see how they do. It takes a little time to get the beds ready and that sort of thing, but, you know, again, we're glad to do it.
Ms. Tabernick and then.
I was gonna say, I love the wildflower idea. When you go to other states, you see the wildflowers.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I would put more money into that, but okay, that's my preference.
Well, I think we've got enough. We also have a grant from Palmetto Pride that's going to give us a little money too.
Okay.
So between the two of them, and again, I may be back in next year to see you again.
Well, the wildflower really adds to the highway. The litter control, I'm with you 100%. Now, I know, in the Adopt a Highway program, I love that you train your volunteers. I love that you want to do a little something for them. I know where I live, we have volunteers that go on 170. Mr. Passman's one of them. You know, Sun City people go out
God
and
bless
pick
you,
up
sir.
litter because people just keep throwing it. So I
Yes,
think
they
that's
do.
a great program too, but I'm up for the wildflowers.
Okay.
I just like to comment, I'm not liaison, Ms.
Paula
Brown
is,
is, but
yeah.
I like going to your meetings because I always get excited, and I used to be on that board a long time ago.
35 years?
Yeah, but implement the additional litter control, I just wonder, this is probably a question for administration, since we do have a solid waste, I wonder if that money could come out of our solid waste money instead of, I mean, it's all the same, except it's not all the same. So just something to think about.
Well, and
with
I've talked to
finance.
them about this, and they say, yeah, please go ask.
Okay.
You know, so
And if I
wherever the money
understand
comes from is fine with us.
Correctly, we're not gonna get any money from DOT for this next year.
That's my understanding. Now, maybe that's not all together. They didn't, according to Sarah Lyles. And by the way, because of all of this, I'm on the board of Palmetto Pride now. So that's good for Beaufort County. That's helpful. I'm very proud of that.
I just wonder if that's.
According to Sarah Lyles, the DOT did not fund the $6 million they did last year.
Okay, we got 100 and.
So whether it's this year or next year, I don't know how their budget rolls around, but sooner or later, that money's going to be gone, and we're going to have to pick up the slack.
I pick up on Ladies Island with Rotary, and you could go out the next day and it's right back out there.
You know, my thing is, I've lived in Beaufort County my whole life, my family, well, everybody. We've always been a fortunate county here. We shouldn't have any litter.
And I would commend all that y'all do with education and the county with education on litter, because that. again,
It's keeping going. It's rolling right along. If you were at the air show, I was out there in the tent, my wife and I. It was fun. Keep Beaufort County beautiful.
Chris?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Chris, I want to personally thank you and the little groups that you have, for the job that you all are doing. I often think that we, the citizens, don't realize just how valuable your labor is to keeping Beaufort beautiful. From the air station going north to Gordon's Corner Highway 21 to intersecting 17, that's a thoroughfare where from the air station to the traffic light at Grace Hill is problematic. I mean, you guys pick up the trash and garbage.
We go to the Well Branch Bridge, and I have to cut it off there because I just have to cut it off somewhere. But I have the guys, I mean, I made in last December, I called up some of my friends in county and said, listen, I'll bring my guys all the way into town. And they just hesitated, and,
We thank you for
we
the
should have
job
done
that
it.
you guys.
Yeah,
But we'll see if the county can help with that.
good. Thank you very much, all of you. I really appreciate what you all
Mr. Campbell,
do.
thank you so much. And let me just say to anyone that's listening that's out there, I also, just like Mr. Passman, I've got a 2-mile stretch of Bluffton Parkway that I take care of, and I usually one morning a month, I'm spent out there. So anyone that wants to get involved, there's other places in the county that can be.
3 council members that pick up trash. Four.
Now, what Gerald Dawson does too, but he takes care of his own road out there. So I
There's lots of
provide him with all the
places-
stuff.
Lots of places that need
Yeah.
people to adopt those areas, and so if there's anyone else out there that's interested, my poor wife has to go with me, so, but, no, again, thank you for everything you do. We appreciate it. You do a great job,
You know,
and
it's
we're looking to see.
It's
what
time
you
to
do.
give back. You know, I'm at the
Yes.
age when it's
I
time to
second
give
that.
back.
Second
And we're here for that.
Great.
Thank you.
Mr. Campbell, thank you. All right, let's move on, and I think this is our final presentation, and this is Beaufort Jasper Hampton Comp Health. And I think Dr. Polke is coming, as she is the CEO. Ms. Polke, thank you for coming back before us again.
Hello, it's good to see
You've been here to
everybody
see us
again.
before. We
Yes.
appreciate that. And who'd you bring with you?
Absolutely. So I brought a few board members. So Mr. Jonathan Brown, and you all know Mr. Glover. And then my Chief Operations Officer, Natassia Allen, who is operating, so she may be in and out. Somebody's got to keep it going while I'm up here. And then our CFO, Lonnie McAtee, who is going to answer that question. Or help me answer that question you're going to ask. But I appreciate being before you all again. I did want to kind of start with the end. So what we are asking for is a slight increase of $100,000. We were funded at $1,040,651 last year, and we appreciate the board or the council increasing us at that point to help cover some of our increased unreimbursed costs from last fiscal year to now. And then the question that you're asking, as far as the surplus, there is no surplus. We have a operating budget is a zero operating budget, and we are mostly a cost reimbursement model. So there are some grants that we get, but we spend the money, and then if we collect patient fees, then we get reimbursed for those things. So I'm going to explain why I'm asking for this. Just showing you our mission. The main thing is comprehensive, which you will see. I will go through a little bit for people who are not familiar with Beaufort Jasper. I think most of you are, but we are a federally qualified community health center. We are a private, not-for-profit organization. We are not a free clinic, and some people get that confused, and we're not a federal clinic. So we get some funding from the federal government. In exchange, the federal government asked us to have certain program requirements. So one is that we provide a sliding fee scale based upon income. So people up to 200% of poverty, so right now that is about $31,000 for a family of 4, would get a sliding fee scale for our fees. So they would have a decreased amount that they would pay for a visit. $30 is the minimum there. We also are required to have a board that's composed of 51% patients. So that's really different from other nonprofit boards where our patients are on their board and they are my boss, right? And so they hire me and then I hire everybody else. We also are provided, need to be comprehensive. So all the services that you'll see that we provide are required by the federal government. So we have 10 center locations. 10 school-based health center locations. So 10 of our locations, 6 of our locations are in Beaufort County. Our school-based health center locations, 6 are in Beaufort County, and I'll show you those. And then we have 3 mobile units and all the services in between from birth until. We also provide obstetric services, still deliver babies in the hospital, have dental services, and then have 5 in-house pharmacy locations that are for our patients, but we serve all of our sites with our pharmacy locations. And then all the other services you see there, radiology, nutrition, behavioral health, HIV and AIDS care, and then telehealth services. These are all our locations, so our health center locations from Sheldon to St. Helena, out to Chelsea or in Okatee, which someone had said earlier, we're in the Beaufort County side, on our side of the road, Jasper County's on the other side. And then Port Royal Medical Center, we have 3 sites there. All those school-based centers and then our mobile unit. And I will put a little footnote in the Ronald McDonald mobile unit because you all know about that one. That one is a 20-year-old mobile unit that is in a bit of disrepair at this point, and me and Audra, I don't think she's here today, are having some discussions about the future of that mobile unit. We do have an annual budget of about $32 million. 25% of that is from the federal HRSA grant. We are expected to raise 75% to make up the rest of our budget. In 2023, we were back up to almost our 17,000 patients. Prior to COVID, we had been at that 17,000 mark. COVID, it decreased a lot, so we are back up to that with our 60,000 annual patient visits and a staff of about 280 employees. So for Beaufort County, about 60% of the patients we serve, about 10,000 people, are from Beaufort County. And the uninsured, specifically for Beaufort County, make up 26% of that total. If we looked at all of our unreimbursed charges, so this is what we charge versus what is written off versus what is patients actually pay and insurance wouldn't reimburse. So these are for people who are uninsured. It's about $2.7 million. So it covers all the things you listed there. I am gonna highlight one thing. One thing that people don't know is that LabCorp, we contract with LabCorp to provide laboratory services for all of our uninsured patients that are 200% of poverty list. So we pay that bill, and then we get reimbursed from the patients for whatever they can pay. So a community health center is required to see patients regardless of their ability to pay, and some people are able to pay us a fee, and some are not. But that is a part of our service, and it's about $100,000 subsidy that we do there, that we just pay. These are our enabling services. So one of the other things that HRSA requires is that we have some enabling services, which means support services. So these are all the ones that we provide that are direct patient services that we receive no reimbursement for or don't have a grant for. And so transportation is a big thing. I know we were talking about transportation earlier. We have 3 FTEs within transportation there, and we will go pick up patients from their homes. And these are Beaufort County specific. Pasos is serving Spanish-speaking patients. We have community health workers, which is kind of a new but not new thing. So community health workers who help patients with their social needs, so do social assessments and try to be the liaison between the provider and the patient. We have remote patient monitoring, which provides services in the patient's home, and we have a nurse that does that. Interpreters, so 25% of our patients speak Spanish, so we are required to have interpreters. We have peer counselors and also some care coordinators. This is just about some of the value that Beaufort Jasper provides. So we provide about $10 million, just where we have those circles, $10 million savings to Medicaid. And a lot of that is in cost avoidance, right? So if we take care of patients in our outpatient office, they don't go to the emergency department, they also don't end up in the hospital. And so we're able to see some of those savings to the system. Some of our accomplishments, I did want to highlight one. So we have medical students, right? So AT Steele University School of Osteopathic Medicine, we get 8 students per year. They had their match day this past Friday, all 8 of ours. There are 150 around the country, but we are one of the community health centers that have these students. They matched in internal medicine, OBGYN, family medicine, internal medicine. Had a radiologist out of the group, which is not a bad thing, because actually the 2 people who come back to Beaufort County, one is a radiologist, he works at Beaufort Memorial Hospital, and the other, his fiance, is a dermatologist, and you may see her if you go to a dermatologist in town. So try to get those folks back. But these are some of our other accomplishments there. The main one I wanted to highlight is just how we provide care. We have requirements, right, to provide quality care for patients. And diabetes has been one of those things that we focus on, and we have improved our care for people living with diabetes. We got to our goal of having 20% or less with hemoglobin A1Cs that are kind of out of range. We're trying to get that way down. The national average, the FQHC average is 26%. And then hypertension, we're meeting the average, but I want to get that to 70% controlled. I'd love it to be 100% controlled, but we're working with patients there. And then other things that we want to work on to improve the community. Last year, we participated in the data walk, which was led by DHEC, that showed us all the statistics for our county and also for Jasper County. And there were some just shocking statistics. And I talked about some of this at the MLK event in Hilton Head, but things that have to do with how long people live in Beaufort County and Jasper County, the disparities based upon race, how long someone who's white lives versus someone who's Black versus someone who's Hispanic or Latino. And these are some of the things that we as a community have to pay attention to and are responsible for. And so some of what Ms. Howard was talking about with Beaufort Memorial Hospital, we have good partnerships with Beaufort Memorial and are working on a few other things. So that may be why we're trying to wait a little while, but I appreciate you all accommodating me to come today. But the other piece that I just wanted to work on is that maternal and infant child health. I could see us putting more community health workers in that space to help support these moms. The rates of infant mortality have increased for the first time in many years. We have to do something about that, right? So more for Jasper and Hampton County, but where do those patients deliver? They deliver here, mostly here in Beaufort County. So that is where funding request comes in, an increase of about $100,000. And there's more slides. These are additional information for people. I was not gonna go through 42 slides today. But I wanted it for council members who may not be as familiar, because it will go through all of our sites, our demographics, that kind of thing. So any questions?
Any questions, Dr. Polkey?
Could we get the other slides so all the council members?
Yes, they're actually, I believe they were in the packet. Yes, that was sent. They're all there.
So I have a comment, which I gave them out. Every time I hear your presentation, I'm amazed that your budget is $32 million. That just floors me every time I think about it, of what you possibly do in that $32 million for everybody. So one observation, obviously, when you look at your list of locations, I'm from the Bluffton area, and I have, when I look at everyone else's demographics, I probably have more of a diversity in minorities in District 9, and people don't realize that than most other folks. So
Definitely.
obviously, there's no south of the Broad clinic.
Not yet.
Is that something you're looking to do in the future, or is that something that you talk about shuttling people, busing people, or how do you see that happening?
So we currently serve both Bluffton and Hilton Head, and that transportation actually goes and gets people and brings them to our Okatee location. Ideally, we would like to have a site in Bluffton or Hilton Head. Some of the difficulty is because the federal government tells us what is an MUA, what is an underserved area, basically. So they tell us where we can put a site. Now, we could put a site, and with assistance, maybe, without federal funding. And so that's something we're looking at, because we do recognize, even though it says that there's not a shortage there, because there's a lot of doctors in Bluffton and Hilton Head, we know that there's patients that need service in those areas, whether they're uninsured or they have Medicaid or Medicare. And so that definitely, thank you for that question, because that's something that's on our radar for the next year or so.
And then the last question is obviously we see a large population of homeless people in Savannah because they have the facilities there and they have the groups and the organizations, but we're seeing more and more of those folks in the Beaufort County area. How do you handle homeless people, or how does that work into what you do?
Yeah, so, it is one of those things that some health centers have a very large homeless population. Savannah specifically serve people who are in-house. We serve people regardless, right? And so if someone doesn't have an address, it's okay. We'll still take care of you. And we're here, the numbers will show that we don't have a lot of people, but we know there's a lot of people, right? And people may be living with other relatives, or they are moving from place to place. And so we stand ready to serve, for sure.
Great.
Ms. Polk, I want to thank you and your staff for the services you provide for the people in Jasper County and Beaufort County who are actually in need of your help and your service. You do a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. It's the team. It's definitely not me.
I want to echo what Mr. Dawson said, and my pleasure being part of your organization. Just one quick question: the $100,000, is that a one-time thing?
For this year, request for this year.
It's an increase.
It's an increase. It would be.
That's not all they're asking for, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't forget that.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Sitting, Dr. Brooke, thank you, Mr. Brown, thank you for coming. We appreciate you all being here. Thank you so much, and great presentation as usual.
Thank you.
All right, that concludes our presentations for today. I appreciate everyone's patience. I know sometimes I think at some point someone turned the heat up, so it'll make us go quicker, but that's all right. That happens that way. But let's move on then, so we can get these folks home in a reasonable time. This is the first time that I've done this, but recommend approval to the governor's office for appointment to the Beaufort Jasper Water and Sewer Authority for a 6-year term with the expiration date of March 2030. Term to be served in its first vote needed. And again, so we have one opening, is that correct?
Yes.
And
do you need 10 votes or 6 for the first time appointments?
so we have 4 resumes and 4 recommendations, but we have only one opening, is that correct? So we have to then,
It's 10.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, no, it's
6, isn't it?
6 out of the 11.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
I just read that the only one seat is vacant. What does that mean?
That means we gotta pick one out of 4.
Yeah, pick one of the 4.
Okay.
We do?
Yeah. So, Mr. Chairman,
Statute allows the county council to appoint 3. 2 individuals are currently serving. You have 1 vacancy to recommend to the legislative delegation for them to then recommend to the governor.
So I'm confused. Who are the 2 that are currently serving out of these 4?
No.
None of them?
None?
These four, they're all new.
They'd be all new.
These are all new. You have to pick from these four. We have
So
four
there's
applicants.
one
pick
opening,
one.
and we have to pick one person from these four folks, the resumes that we have in front of us.
We've gotten all the resumes back.
We did.
And yet, we do. And any guidance from staff on how we do this without just opening the floor up for a nomination? Is that,
I think that sounds good.
Mr. Kevany, is there any advice on how we do this without getting people mad at each other?
Staff doesn't have a recommendation.
That's-
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
Mr. Chairman,
Mr.
do you know which district the nominees are from? You know which districts they're from?
We do not have that information in front of us as either.
Got the documentation in their addresses, I believe.
Yeah, they have their
But
addresses.
we're not sure who's on Beaufort Jasper already, or where they're located, or what area they represent.
Oh, here's page
Chairman.
20 Bluff, where's that?
I do like
Yes,
that.
Mr. Glover.
Yes, sir. As the liaison for Beaufort Jasper Water Authority, there are 4 candidates for that position. And as of right now, they're all good qualified people. If you look at the resume, et cetera, they're all good qualified people. I personally would like to recommend number 4. And I can tell you the reasons behind that. One is that he was a former executive director of the Beaufort Jasper Comprehensive Health. And he basically knows Beaufort and Jasper well. He's been the executive director for the Comprehensive Health there for almost 30-something years, 40-something years. So he knows that area, and he knows a lot of the players in those various communities, as well as a resource person. He has knowledge and resource in the areas of politics, particularly on the federal level as well as the state level. And he's a local person, and I would recommend Mr. Gardner for that position.
All right, before we go and second it, if there's anybody else that has a recommendation, let's
I
hear
have a
from everybody.
recommendation.
Okay?
I don't know any of these gentlemen, but looking at the resumes, the perfect fit to me is Thomas Mike. He's got 20 years with BJWSA. He's done lots of work at Paris Island Marine Recruit, Port Royal, has done $20 million utility conflicts. It seems he would be totally in line. Now, he is south of the Broad, I could tell, but I don't know any of these men. I just looked at his resume and he seems to fit.
I read his resume as well. He started out as a meter guy
I saw that,
30 years ago or 25 years ago. Anybody else have a recommendation? Yep, good.
Kind of between the two as well. I know Roland Gardner, and I think he's a good man and would be a good fit for that area, but I do agree with Mr. Mike. His resume was outstanding, so.
I'd like to second the nomination of Mr. Gardner.
All right, is there any other recommendations before that comes up?
I would like to second Thomas Mike with Tab, because he was with
Okay.
Beaufort Jasper.
All right, so, well, we two separate.
Yeah, there's 2 separate, so Mr. Glover and Ms. Howard for Mr. Gardner, and Ms. Tabernack and Ms. Brown for Mr. Mike.
So I think the other way to do this would be to actually then have a vote on the first nominee, which is Mr. Gardner. And then if he gets the majority vote, then we'll go with him. And then the second was Mr. Mike. And if Mr. Gardner doesn't get the nomination, then it would go to, we'd have to vote for Mr. Mike.
Well, I have a question. The 2 that are already appointed, where do they live in the county?
That's what we
One
asked.
resides on Hillhead and one is in Beaufort.
Lives in the city.
Okay, so one is Hilton Head, one's north of the Broad. Okay.
Okay. Any more discussion before we take the first nominee to vote? Seeing no more discussion, I guess we need to call the roll.
Yeah.
Councilmember Glover?
This is for Mr. Gardner.
This is for Mr. Gardner.
Oh, that's how you gonna do it this way?
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to do it this way.
Yes?
Yes, I say yes to that. Okay.
Councilmember Howard?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
No.
Councilmember Reeds?
No.
Councilmember Dawson?
Yes.
Councilmember Bartholomew?
Yes.
Vice Chair McGillen?
No.
Chairman Passament?
No.
Committee Vice Chair Tabernick?
No.
Committee Chair Lawson?
Mark Lawson, no.
The motion fails.
All right, now we will take up the second recommendation by Ms. Tabernick, and if we could start with a roll call on that, please, Ms. Sarah?
Committee Chair Tabernick? Committee Vice Chair Tabernick, sorry.
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Committee Chair Lawson?
Mark Lawson, yes.
Chairman Passament?
Yes.
Vice Chair McGillen?
Yes.
Councilmember Bartholomew?
Yes.
Councilmember Dawson?
Yes.
Councilmember Glover?
No.
Councilmember Howard?
No.
Councilmember Reeds?
Yes.
The motion passes.
All right, let's move on to our final, I just locked out.
Boards and commissions.
Boards and commissions, and go back, my computer just shut down on me. All right, so let's, Beaufort County Agency Boards and Commissions. We will take all these at one time unless someone would like to object and want these as separate items. Is there anyone that would like to separate the vote on these four boards? All right, so I'd like to have a motion then to take them all at one time.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second. Oh, okay. Go
All
ahead.
right, it's been seconded. We'll take them all at one time without objection. Is there any objection? I see no objection. So we're going to have a vote that all the folks that are listed, and that would be Michael Murphy to the Construction Adjustments and Appeals Board, Maria Gibbs to the Accommodations Tax 2% Board, Dennis Nielsen to the Zoning Board of Appeals, and then final one is Robert McPhee, and that's for Beaufort Jasper Water and Sewer Authority, District 2. Is there any objection to those four folks?
No.
Seeing no objection, they all are approved. Is there anything else that needs to come before the committee today? Seeing nothing, we are adjourned. Thank you for. Sorry,
Get out of
that was
here.
racing. Can I have a motion then to go in executive session?
I'll make the motion.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second that.
And is there any objection? Seeing no objection, we will be going into executive session, and we'll see if there's anything that comes out of this committee. After that, we come back out, but obviously we appreciate everyone being here today and the time spent while we're here.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
You need a motion on the basis for going into executive
All right,
session?
the basis for going into executive session pursuant to South Carolina Code Section 30-4-70A2, discussion of negotiations incident to proposed contractual arrangements and proposed sale for purchase of development rights on real property. So again, let's go back and have a vote. Any objections to us going into executive session for that?
We're taking a vote, gentlemen.
Taking a vote?
Any
Taking a
objection?
vote to make sure, no objection? All right, so then we are going into executive
Executive
session.
session. Thank you. It's been a long meeting, I know.
It's a little hot.
It is.
Sarah, let me know we're online. We're on? Rising out of executive session.
No.
Seeing no, this meeting is adjourned.